Well, but if I say they overlap quite a lot, how is that confusing the two?
They're completely different.
But they aren't. They overlap quite a lot.
No, they're completely different. Science and then science is not engineering.
It isn't the exact same thing, but they overlap a lot.
How?
You see, but this is QE's doctrine, isn't it? He wants to make science this sort of almost supernatural thing that is different to everything else, and it just isn't.
No, and like, for example,
no.
Hold on, let me say something, Kimo. Let me say something, because I just out of curiosity, I just looked it up. I looked up engineering definition thereof, and here's the first thing that comes up. Engineering is the applied science of acquiring and applying knowledge to design, analysis, and construction of works for practical purposes. The applied science looks to me like it is a science.
That's what I'm saying. That's part of the problem.
Well, if that's part of the problem, then what isn't part of the problem? You?
Okay, so Professor of Engineering and History, Duke of University, titled the paper, "Engineering is not science, and confusing the two keeps us from solving the problems of the world."
It's applied science, which is totally different.
Yeah, it's not science.
Okay, then let's look at, have you actually got a link to that paper, or are you just going off his quote?
No, I'm just saying the papers state that engineering...
Yeah, my question is, have you actually got a link to that paper?
No, not at the moment.
Right, so you're just going off his quote.
I have a link. I'm looking at it right now.
Right, because I'm wondering what point they're actually making.
Is that it's not science.
Well, it's saying that that one is not a subset of the other, which is true. They just have overlapping.
Yeah, well, you can correct yourself now, obviously, because you've been corrected by Flat Earth.
But I'm not correcting myself. I'm saying the same thing I said before.
We've educated you that it's not.
No, I'm saying the same thing I said before.
And this again is QE's tactic, isn't it? With everything, it's to take an out of context statement and make it seem like something else was being said. You know, we're trying to express sometimes quite complex ideas here, and you know, sometimes one sentence doesn't do it. Sometimes you have to derive meaning from the conversation rather than a single line from it.
Or if you've been having the conversation for a while, the context is such that words have been starting to shorthand for ideas because you don't want to repeat the complex idea every time. And so, like in the very first thing he brought up in that video, I say something about the sphere and how it's rotating. Of course, by that point in the conversation, sphere was a reference to the spherical Earth that's rotating according to the mainstream model. And so he took my saying the sphere that rotates to imply that I was arguing that all spheres everywhere have to rotate. Which of course
I mean, it's just so ridiculous, wasn't it? And then he always does that thing, doesn't he, when he gets his quotes out. From Penn State. You know, I just want to fucking kick his head in.
He's just so mature.
Well, I mean, again, this is someone who's just gathering the information from the experts and just relaying what the professionals are teaching. These,
so they are.
Relaying it in song form, it would seem.
I just read you what the experts say. They call it an applied science.
What's the name of that expert?
I'll tell you. Hold on.
It's
from Science Daily.
No.
Which is a science periodical. Hold on. We'll work it out. I got to figure out who the actual author is. But Science Daily is a science journal.
Who is the engineer, the expert that agrees with you, Veach?
I'm getting there. Relax. I'm just having to follow these links, and they take a while.
In a way, it's all academic, really, because what we know for certain is that what QE claims is and isn't science is completely wrong.
Well,
no one in the world anywhere agrees with him.
I'm going with Henry.
There isn't a single human being on Earth that shares QE's definition of science. Not one.
I'm going to have to go with Henry Petrosky, Professor of Engineering and history at the Duke University. Who do you have, Veach?
Well, you don't have him. Let's see a quote.
Yeah, I've just told you his quote.
No, let's see it. I mean, let's see the actual link. I'll see the
These are just out of context quotes.
Who do you have? You have nobody, no name.
I have the guy. I'm just looking for his name. It just takes.
Oh,
I'm
you
just
have
slow.
the guy. You just don't looking for.
I found 3 more as I went, so I'm just gathering them all as I go. You're gonna get like 6 of them. But go ahead and show us the one you're talking about.
Yeah, we're waiting for you to show us the one you're talking about.
Well, if you can wait if you want, but in the meantime,
waiting longer for yours, okay?
Yes, I know. I'm just because I'm slower than you, and you already have yours.
Yeah, I have my paper. Do you have your paper?
So
I have my paper within seconds, Veach.
Kimo, why are you?
Why did you call him a name? Why didn't you just look for the paper?
Why are you getting so?
I'm going to provide my paper right now.
So over something so
yeah, I'm going to provide my paper immediately within seconds of telling you who my reference is. Okay, and this is it's not from QE. This is from Henry Petrosky, and he says engineering is not science, and confusing the two keeps us from solving the problem of the world. Veach. Now, where do you have?
I have.
Where's the paper?
I have Donald Rutledge. I have Donald Rutledge Hill.
Where's the paper? Post it.
Kimo.
Why are you spazzing out so much?
Because you're just hassling me for my paper.
I wasn't actually. I just asked you that you couldn't stop talking as I just asked you a simple question, which is, could you just post
You said, "Where's my paper? Where's my paper? I've just posted it. Where's your paper?"
I didn't say it like that though. You said it like that.
Ooh, someone got out the wrong side.
Hassling me, and I've provided it.
It wasn't hassling you, Kimo. You generated hassle in your mind.
Still looking for your person. Where are they?
Have you posted the paper or not?
Yes, ages ago.
Thank you.
Long time ago.
Okay, thank you. Very nice of you.
So now what? What are we going to do now? While I've got my paper, which says Henry Petrosky of, what's the university again? Let's get that correct. University of the Duke University, History and Engineering. Okay, he tells us that you are keeping us from solving the problems of the world.
Well, it seems a little weird because obviously engineering and science overlap. And here's a source for you to look at that.
Who is it?
It's from Science Daily Journal.
Who wrote that?
I can't figure that out yet.
Is it a PhD? Is it an engineer? Is it an expert?
You'll know soon as I know you'll know.
Nobody knows.
I've got it.
You know what? It hardly matters. It hardly matters. It's a scientific publication, and it's obviously true too. If you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, do we really need to insist on experts, or can we just use our own common sense and logic?
Who said that? You?
Science Journal.
Yeah, you. You could have wrote that.
Except for it's you. I just posted the link.
I haven't heard anyone else say it but you.
I just posted the link for you.
But I haven't heard any professionals say it but you.
Well, it's a professional journal.
Well, who? You're the only person that says what you're saying.
But I didn't write the article. How would I have written the article?
What's the person then? Who are they?
I don't know. I'm looking on it.
You don't know? Well, we know who wrote my article.
It comes from Science Daily, and besides, it makes perfect sense.
Nothing to do with QE. This is to do with Henry Petrosky.
I don't know who that is.
Well, I've just posted you the paper. Read up.
I was looking at it. You're very tense, Kimo. Are you okay, Kimo?
You were just shouting, demanding for my citation.
I was not shouting. You are really out of your gourd, dude.
Well, now we're waiting for your citation. Who wrote your stuff?
Well, I'm trying to find it, but you're so upset.
But going back to the other citation that you have, which is engineering is not science, and confusing the two keeps us from solving the problems of the world, by Henry Petrosky. And in this, he is the argument he's making is scientists might argue that the government needs to invest in basic scientific research that will lead to unspecified discoveries about energy, water, and waste. He's been talking about sort of climate, problems with climate change and renewable energy and things, just as examples. Although a good deal is already known about these things, it certainly would not hurt to know more. But what would really move things forward would be investments in engineering. Throughout history, a full scientific understanding has been neither necessary nor sufficient for great technological advances.
Excellent.
The era of the steam engine, notably, was well into its 2nd century before a fully formed science of thermodynamics had been developed.
Excellent.
Indeed, sometimes science has impeded progress. Had
Excellent.
Marconi believed his physicist contemporaries, he would... I don't know why you're blathering on.
You're agreeing everything I'm saying.
But it's making QE look like a moron.
He's agreeing with what we're saying. That engineer.
So QE thinks that you don't really need science.
No,
that's
the
what
guy
QE
here
would
saying
say,
that
would it?
before.
Or is that absolutely, totally contrary to what QE would say? Isn't what QE would say is the only thing we need is science. Nothing else matters, I think.
I didn't reference QE.
So you can sit there giggling. This is the absolute polar opposite of QE's stance on this.
I didn't reference QE. I referenced Henry.
Yes, you did. This is QE's citation that he provided in his video.
Well, again, Henry is there for anyone to find. Henry says science is not engineering, and I'm going to go with what Henry says.
Well, I posted about 5 sources that contradict him.
Well, who are they? Who are the people?
There's various different people. I posted them all in debate chat box.
Okay, very nice. Interesting.
What he's talking about is funding, making sure that the funding goes to engineering rather than scientific research.
What did he say about the steam engine? That was built without science.
He didn't say that. He did not say that.
What does it say?
The era of the steam engine, notably, was well into its 2nd century before a fully formed science of thermodynamics had been developed. That's not, it was developed without science.
Yes, that's what it's saying.
No, not in any way. Those two statements have completely different meanings. Completely different.
How do you
cannot just say it was means it was developed without science. That's completely wrong. It was developed without a fully formed science of thermodynamics.
Right.
That's not without science, is it? Those are different. No, it's not. Ugh. God, how can you? Honestly,
he's saying we knew these things before there was science before we knew the science of it.
We knew how to make a steam engine before we'd made a steam engine.
No, we knew how to build things before we understood scientifically how they worked. So you could build anything. It doesn't mean that you know.
Partly true. So what?
So we didn't use science.
That shows you that we can derive truth about the world and take useful actions based on those truths that produce useful results without science.
I know.
That's dear QE. Now what you're going to do? Because according to QE, we can't do any of that stuff without science.
No, you're talking to Kimo now, okay? This is my paper.
Yeah, Kimo, who is quoting QE, who was quoting Henry Petrosky, a professor of engineering and history at Duke University.
Look, we Russians stick very close together. Now, Henry Petrosky, let's hope he's Russian, not Polish.
Ross Cosmos is looking for you again, Kimo.
Look, you can't argue with this paper. Now, Veach has not provided one paper with one
scientist. I provided 5.
With one scientist, one expert.
They are all scientific journals.
Who are they?
I don't. They're different people. You should look at them. They all say variations on. There's overlap. There's similarities. It's an applied science. There's all versions of that in there.
Not one name.
No, there's a name in there. So I just don't remember all.
No, this shouldn't even be an argument. You know, both disciplines are useful to us, aren't they? But it's only QE that's trying to separate out science and say this is different from everything else. It proves things. You know, it's this, you know, gilded, heralded thing that's not like anything else. And that just isn't true, is it?
Oh, like I say, I'm not arguing from QE point. We've got the experts, the engineers, who once again agree with what we say. How can you argue with that?
But they don't. I just gave you a bunch of sources.
Not one person you can quote.
You haven't looked at them. They all have people attached to them, but you're not looking. You have to look.
Provide them. Let's take a look at
I don't remember the names. I was getting them as I went and then posting them when they said the thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, but we want to check out their credentials.
They were all scientific journals, though, so you'll find the credentials to be there.
I can't find any credentials.
Well, which one are you looking at?
Whereas
Kimo,
Henry
are you an engineer?
What is Henry? Henry is a
We have
professor
PhDs.
of engineering and history at the university. See?
I got you. That's not that exciting, but so there are PhDs in there. You'll see. You should look through it.
I'm not looking through it. It's your site, your claim.
I posted them for you. Look, what else can I do but post it for you? If you can't read them after they're posted to the big chat box, that's on. That's on you.
Demanded I get the name and who the
citation. Hey, when you posted it, I read it.
Yeah. So where is your name?
I posted it. They're all in the debate chat box, just like you did.
Okay, give one name then. I'll have a look on.
I already posted them all in there.
What's the name then? Tell me.
I don't remember. You have to look at them in the paper.
I can't remember where the paper.
Well, then you don't care, do you?
Well, then you don't care. What's the name of the people?
You posted your paper and I read it. Yeah. I posted my papers and you won't read them.
I gave you a
saw
name.
that, Gary. I saw that, Gary. Yeah.
You didn't give me a name. I read it in the paper.
Yeah, it does say the
had Marconi believed his physicist contemporaries, he would have known that wireless telegraphy signals could not be sent across the ocean around Earth's curvature.
Fine, that's fine.
Can't see that being in this article.
What is it called? We've got hostile witness. Problem.
You know, I so knew that phrase was coming out.
You see?
Here's another one, Kimo. Here's another one for you. Science
paper.
The role of engineering sciences.
Yeah, who wrote
This is now number 7.
What's his credentials?
As Nick has said, hostile witness.
Edwin T. Layton.
Hostile witness equals excuse for article completely contradicting you. Yes.
Not really. I mean, yeah, we accept that he thinks the Earth is a ball. At the same time, practically, now listen, the practical world of his work says there's no science. No practical element in the globe, what he believes about curvature. But when it comes to engineering, you can't tell him that he's doing science. He would kick you out of his class.
Hang on, I can.
Class, not science.
Kimo, I can. Kimo, I can. I'm an engineer, and I do the science of welding. I also do the science of material. Hang on, I'm not finished. I do material science as well.
What university are you at?
What do you mean university? You don't learn welding at a university.
Well, we're talking about a professor. Are you a professor?
Yeah, I don't care. He doesn't have my credentials.
You're not a professor.
So, just to be clear,
he doesn't have my knowledge.
Just to be clear, Kimo, you only care about what professors say about these things, huh?
Well, it depends, of course.
Well, I mean, what does it depend on?
Whether they agree with him or
not. It depends on what they've done, right?
Well, I mean, I just am trying to understand. Is this a paradigm that we have going forward that you only want to see information coming from PhD professors at prestigious schools?
Well, is there an expert that agrees with what you say?
Yes, I posted them. Edward T. Layton is the latest one I posted.
What do they say?
He said that the role of engineering sciences is important in the American military industrial complex.
Okay, what university?
And I wonder, like the example given here about the steam engine being developed before we had a fully formed science of thermodynamics. But I wonder how much our fully formed science of thermodynamics was derived from engineering things like steam engines. I wonder if that led us to that fully formed science.
Well, we have a problem here, Jim. Is it at QE's position, if you follow it through logically, that the steam engine didn't work before we had the fully formed science of thermodynamics?
I think so. That's what you would expect, isn't it? Because he rejects everything that isn't science, and that, when I say science, I mean his warped and very narrow view of what science is.
I'd like to add in what Gary said earlier and what I said. The water wheel was invented way before the steam engine. Sorry, Kev.
No, go ahead. It's like, I mean, fire did we have fire before we knew it was plasma? Did it burn things? I don't know.
The water wheel started.
This goes back to the beginning when he first brought this out, and several of us were like, does it need to be science to be true?
Right. And that's always
the problem.
That's always my starting point with him. That's why I never allow myself to get dragged into the independent variable part of it, because I just make the argument that we conclude things to be true. We make truth conclusions without using science all the time, all day long, all of us. So to say, oh, we need, this is the only thing that can give us a truth is just silly. And if he's challenged on that, usually he concedes that point straight away. He'll say, yeah, we don't just, yeah, it isn't the only way we get knowledge. But nobody ever bothers. They'll just start trying to produce independent variables for things. You know, like I always say, we believe things to be true because the body of evidence supports it. And that evidence, some of it may or may not be scientific.
Okay, so you're missing the point once again.
Engineering is quite a big word for quite a broad.
If there is a phenomenon in nature, that phenomena requires science. Not everything requires science because not everything is a phenomena. Making your cup of tea is not a phenomena. Engineering is not a phenomena. We know the cause to that effect. So the only way that we'll have the answers scientifically is when there is an observed phenomena in nature where we predict the cause to that effect.
Engineering required science. If you work in the design department,
not according to Henry.
According to a dumb fucker.
Catches on fire.
According
to we need science for that forest to burn, or to know that it's on fire?
Decodus.
So if you work, oh, sorry,
don't start that, Kimo.
Me don't
show start. As much as you fucking like.
You're using this to sidestep the point.
How's it me don't start when you are the ones that are starting it?
No, you aren't
going to. Is the forest on fire because you don't know the science behind it? So what exactly do you need the science for this phenomena? Did the cavemen not burn? Did people in Australia not burn?
Oh yeah, burning is not an observed phenomenon. Not an observed phenomenon.
Whatever. You get the point, Kimo.
Fire is not an observed phenomenon.
And Henry Petrosky's... sorry, go ahead, Kev. Go ahead.
Did you hear what he just said? Fire is not an observed phenomenon.
Henry Petrosky's latest book is called The Essential Engineer, Why Science Alone Will Not Solve Our Global Problems.
Cutting out.
Mm-hmm.
Was I cutting out for anyone else? Or?
No, you were
not me.
Fluid.
But Kimo's doing a good job of arguing that we should bring back burning at the stake.
Hang on, I thought after an hour the drunks had to be muted. Why is Kimo still allowed to talk?
So anyway, his book is Why Science Alone Will Not Solve All Our Global Problems. So he's talking about a combination of science and engineering to solve problems.
There always have been in engineering science. I mean, that's the first thing you get taught at school is engineering science in theory and practice. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like the maths and angles and pi and all that crap I have to learn to be able to do the job I have done.
Let's take him down to the austenite and martensite structure of carbon steel and how they slot together. Then I know what science is, the nugget.
How about we teach him how to create alloys?
Yeah, by mixing different alchemies together and doing magic, yeah. That's all it is, it's alchemy.
Not talk to Davros, I can't hear him. And it makes things really confusing.
Yeah, Davros is there in the background. It's all alchemy anyway, yeah.
Very low. Look, for people who don't know the history of this, real quick, Nathan Oakley took this with QE and adapted it or used it because in a vendetta against Rumpus, saying that the Earth has been scientifically proven to be a sphere or to be a globe on Nathan's show a few years ago. Before that, even QE on his own, his goal was to basically stalemate any use of science to prove that the Earth is a sphere or flat, so that you have to resort to his default position the Bible says it's flat, therefore it's flat. That's the origins of this.
Right.
There's nothing honest or truthful or no scientific endeavor involved here. It's all bullshit. Motivated by bullshit. Lies.
Yeah, because ultimately science is about discovering truths about reality. And Quantum Eraser's version is about being able to ignore truths about reality and say, oh, well, they're not science, so they don't count. I can't test what the planets do with an experiment and an independent variable, etc. Therefore, I just get to ignore what the planets do.
Flat earthers striving to not know things.
Right.
How do you feel about that, Kimo? You proud? Probably are.
Well, I mean, again, look, you've got to be allowed to express, obviously, your opinion on science, engineering, which is fine. But the experts have spoken, guys, and the experiments are there for all to see. Okay,
but the experts agreed with us.
If there's an observed phenomena in nature, okay, then it's very simple. We have to. There's only one way we can figure out the cause to any effect, and that is to conduct an experiment. And once we manipulate that variable that causes it, we will have more knowledge about that effect.
Quick question.
So other than that, yeah, I mean, you can give your opinion, but it's just that it's your opinion. Okay. The
Kimo,
experts are experts for a reason. That's because they do things practically, like engineering. And like I said, if you were to tell Henry you're doing science, he would. I'm not doing science.
No, Kimo, you've gone on quite a bit, and you got to remember though that you have one expert that you brought up. And by the way, the reason he says what he says is because he thinks science is useless and the only thing that should exist is engineering, which of course is the opposite of what you guys say. But there are other experts like Edward T. Layton, PhD, Rear Admiral, went to Annapolis, says the opposite. He says that engineering is an applied science. And then the other 7 sources that I posted that you refused to read also the same thing. Also, interestingly, if you go look at Duke, they have classes in the engineering sciences. And it's true for Caltech and MIT and Stanford and every other major school, which really makes a strong argument that most of the experts think that engineering is related to sciences enough to call it engineering science.
Okay.
It's funny how engineering science is a flaming syllabus in a school classroom, so I don't know where he's got that idea from, Kimo.
Yeah. But you can have your opinions, though. That's definitely true.
Yeah, and my opinion is that the Professor Henry, the professor for a reason.
Well, he retired
for a reason, and historian for a reason. There's the history of science.
Maybe he ran out of time.
But this is where you drift, I think, as well. Where, and I think you sort of flip from one position to the other here. Now, are you saying that QE's position is the generally considered position of educated people? Or are you saying that you wish QE's position was the generally considered position of educated people? That it should be that? It isn't, but it should be. Or are you saying it actually is?
I'm only going with, like I said, the experts, the professionals.
So you're saying it actually is? You're saying these people actually agree with QE on this?
No, they agree with me.
Right. And but you're just saying exactly the same things as QE, the things that he's told you to say, right?
He hasn't told me to say these.
You are literally just parroting his words.
No, we're going with the practical element.
As he demands, that his words are parroted perfectly.
Well, we can only go with the practical element. It doesn't matter what anyone says. Any test.
So you should easily be able to find then, if this is the generally considered position of all educated people in this field, in these fields, you should be able to find some citation, some article that fully agrees with QE, that says science is not engineering. Science is just a scientific method, and it's just these 4 steps, and that's it. So do you have one of these PhD type folks that says all of those things in one place.
No,
Not a sentence here and a sentence there, but in one thing. So that we can see that there are educated people who fully agree with QE, as you are claiming.
Again, it's the experts that give us this information. They've done the practical. Now, again, Richard Feynman, okay, he explains...
Appeal to authority.
Yeah, but do you have, as I say, some article somewhere, because everyone agrees with QE, according to you, so it should be really easy.
I never said that.
Oh, you didn't say that. I thought you did, because I specifically asked you. I specifically asked you if you thought this was the considered position of educated people, or whether you wished it was. And here we see the flip. It's now, oh, well, they don't actually think that, but we think that they should think that. Right?
Okay, so here's another
That's where we're going next.
Here's another citation that agrees with me. Okay, when it talks about experiment. I mean, again, what part do you want? Engineering, the science part?
Not a part. I want the whole thing in one place. That I made that very clear. I want it not cherry-picked. Because you're claiming that educated people agree with QE on this.
No, I didn't say that.
Well, what is your position?
Okay,
let me ask you the question. Let me ask you the question again. Then, is it your position that educated people agree with Quantum Eraser on this, or is it your position that you wish educated people agreed with Quantum Eraser on this?
I mean, again, I don't know what his opinions are. All I know all I know is that the experts, the experts, the professors and professionals agree with what science is, what engineering is, and how to
from where do you have?
So now, after denying 3 times that you aren't saying that they agree with QE, you're now saying that they do agree with QE.
No, they agree with me.
Well, me and QE are synonymous in this conversation. Stop trying to make the decision, the distinction, because there isn't one. You are saying his words. You are taking the words that he put in his video. Yes, you are.
Oh, yes.
These are quotes from his video that he included in his video.
And that was to tease Veach. Veach, are you okay? Are you okay, Veach?
Why are you avoiding my question?
Because we've got...
Because you know it's bollocks. No. You know that educated people do not agree with QE on this, and there is anywhere that you could find anyone who agrees with him fully in any way on this.
I've just labelled 3 people.
No, you haven't. None of those will agree with him in any way fully. You're just getting odd sentences that appear to agree with him.
Feynman.
Taken out of context.
Henry. And what's the other one?
Well, Feynman, who says specifically science doesn't prove things. He's a hostile witness now, is he?
Where does it say that?
He says that all the time.
Where? Quotation, video.
He said it at the Columbia talk.
No.
Yeah, he does say it in the Columbia talk.
I'm going to show you my video now within seconds. Right?
He said science doesn't prove things, and everyone laughs, and he says, "Oh, you laugh, but it doesn't prove things," and he goes on to talk about that.
Yep, that's it.
Timestamp.
I'll get it.
So here's my Richard Feynman essence. If you want to know how to science, experts, professionals agree once again with what
But he doesn't. We know that he doesn't agree.
There are no experts.
In this lecture, or one of these lectures, because I think there's 3 of them, isn't there? But
there are no experts or scientists in the field, because science is such a progressive accolade that it changes by the second. So you can only become more proficient in it, not really professional, no. We discover new things every second. You can't be up to date with everything. You can be scientifically prowess in specific fields, yeah, but that's about it. And then when you've uncovered all that and you've got to the end of that question, then what do you do next? You know?
I should really step out of this argument because I get to... just bugs me so much.
I know.
I just can't see why other people can't just see the...
Because it's an intellectual discord, Jem.
how blindingly stupid it is. You know?
Yep.
Well, I mean, like I say, you're confusing knowing things and science, basically.
How can you stand there or sit there and make a statement and say that we're stupid? Everything. I don't get you.
Science is not required for every aspect. That's why we have engineering, so it's not science.
Well, no, there is science in engineering.
It doesn't matter whether it is or whether it isn't.
Did you get your Feynman quote? No, did you get your Feynman quote? I posted the one you wanted in the debate chat box.
I completely disagree with Kimo.
Well, I can't really watch it now, but yeah, I'll take a look at that.
Kimo, you're telling me that the engineering of buildings and bridges and roads doesn't require any science whatsoever?
Yes, it doesn't require any science whatsoever.
So how do you make bitumen then?
No.
How do you stick the pieces of steel together?
They were building
when
the Egyptians built the pyramids. No science.
We're not talking about Egyptians.
All
why
that was
are you living in the
was
past?
Mathematics.
Why are you living in the past?
And calculations.
Why are you living in the past?
I'm explaining to you that science was not around when engineering was.
Do you live in Egypt? Wait, do you live in Egypt?
Engineering was around before science.
Do you live in Egypt?
You do talk some shite, you do, don't you? Have you actually recorded yourself and fucking listened back to the shite that you come out with? Engineering's not fucking science. What are you on about?
Sometimes, for instance, when we engineer something, it's a process of trial and error, right? That leads us to an engineering solution for something. So I think that process of trial and error can be considered scientific in a sense because you're testing things, aren't you?
The truth is that the things that we do in these fields are multifaceted and complex, and no one simple category of thing is the whole and end all be all of a thing. Like lots of different things are science, and lots of different things are engineering, and they overlap like crazy. And when you're an engineer and you're solving a problem, you're probably doing some science in there too, and you're probably doing some engineering, and you're probably doing a blend of the two. And same goes with science. It's all related. There's no need to try and divide them up into these simple categories. There's no need for that kind of simplicity because it doesn't really, because as Jim always points out, it doesn't even matter what we label these things as long as the methods we're using are valid ways to get at truth. It doesn't. No one really cares what you end up labeling them. That's why they're so complex, and that's why we don't have good labels for them because it's not important.
Right.
Yeah, it goes in a flow, and we set it out in that flow, in that direction for that reason.
Kimo, I really want to know from your point of view why the Egyptians didn't know nothing about the science. Why they didn't apply science when they have to move blocks like 3 tons from 5 kilometers away.
Because the Egyptians didn't build the pyramids. There you go. And the people that did build it, the fucking the information's gone. It's lost. Well, it's lost because if the Egyptians built the pyramids, they'd still be building pyramids now, wouldn't they? And they're not. So obviously they didn't build the pyramids. There you go. You see, it's like think about what you see and not what you think. You know, you only see a few pyramids here and there, big uns, and all the rest of them are tiny little fucking things. You know what I mean? So they only built big ones at a certain time of, I don't know, an epoch you could call it, and then that was it. They didn't build no more after that because they were probably too difficult to build. They thought, fuck it, I ain't building any more of them. Easy to build it out of brick, innit? So they went to brick. Smaller, easier. Carry a hell of a lot more bricks around than you can a 3-ton flaming boulder, you know what I mean?
According to Kimo, the science, it's around 500 years ago, and that's it. So, nobody used science before.
We've been around 45 million bloody years. Where's Kimo been? He thinks that all civilizations and everything started 6,000 years ago. Well, and he needs to go back to school because there's evidence out there that could tell you that people have been here a lot longer than that. The Clovis, the Denisovians, I mean, they're fucking at least 25 million years old at that, you know. That's quite a, what do they call it? Conservative bloody, like estimate as well. I don't even know the real age of them. I don't think anybody bloody does.
I
guess it's science.
Confused.
I guess it's science.
Confused. Oh,
science.
How?
What?
How?
What?
Stop it.
Stop what?
You're very, very quiet, Davros.
Hang on.
I've got to stop what I'm doing so your end sounds better. No, I don't think so.
I think Cal, he was saying that he wanted to get a word in edgewise, so he's trying to see if you would.
I know. Go on.
I think he left.
Is that a little better?
It's good.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So, if Kimo thinks that you have to do observations and experiments, you do test pieces when engineering. You observe what happens, and then you test whether or not it fits. If it doesn't fit, you have to do it again. If that's not science, I don't know what the fuck is.
Only QE's four-step method. Only that.
Oh,
Yeah,
do you have to pray to God for the four-step program?
Like I said in the room there, you have to test it or else you waste all the material trying.
Yep.
So you don't understand his point of view. He have a method, and that method is applied to all the things. So, for example, in electricity, I want to see how he's going to apply exactly the same method. To put things and take things out, and it's not working. And there are a lot of fields, for example, medicine. It's not working like that. But he's coming with
the hokey pokey.
Yeah, he's coming with the stupid nonsense things, you know, that you have to put something and it's going to be a variable. And variable can be eliminated for any time you want it. And after that, it have to be something isolated to have a result. But it's not, this is just, okay, it's working for some things, but it's not universally applied.
I think you need to find another citation there, Kimo. This one's not working for you.
Kimo left.
Oh no, he's still here. Just lining up his tea.
For a slap.
It's going to come with fresh forces, like another one bite to dust.
I swear he drinks his tea out of the saucer, like compo. Out of, what is it? That one, yeah, can't remember.
Tao, I reckon he uses a £10 note.
Yeah, sucks it through a £10 note, yeah. Bit of a dull boy.
You know what I mean.
He's a bit of a dull boy, though, isn't he? Well, yeah, he's Dell's boy, isn't he? So that's about right, yeah. So is Mel, for that matter. He's a Dell's boy as well. Fucking incarnate, fucking psychotic idiot in a fucking shed, I tell you. I bet his wife's glad he's in that fucking shed, so she doesn't have to listen to him.
I think that's where he got kicked too. Like,
yeah, fuck the couch, mate. You've got the shed.